Now, there are lots of Marvel fans who won't touch DC, and frankly, don't have anything good to say about DC comics, TV shows, or movies. Hopefully, after watching this video, some of you Marvel fanatics may give DC a try.
Anachronic.
Hi comic book guys and gals, I'm Joe, and welcome to Anachronic Comics. Now, I have lots of comic book friends that I exchange direct messages with on a number of topics. Now, I admit that I'm primarily a DC guy, but it always wasn't that way. When I was younger, in the 1960s, I mostly read and collected Marvel, including Amazing Spider-Man, X-Men, Fantastic Four, and the Avengers, who I really loved. When I got back to reading and collecting comics back in 2007, Marvel was the first place I went, and well, actually the second place after the Justice League. So I picked up the same four, an Avengers title or two, Fantastic Four, ASM, and X-Men. That's when I became primarily a DC guy. With the exception of Spider-Man, I thought the stories were too complicated, not very good, and frankly, difficult to follow. So other than Amazing Spider-Man, I basically stopped reading and buying Marvel, other than Spidey. Now, that's not to say that I didn't pick up some Marvel from time to time, but DC became my mainstay. Now, as I mentioned, the purpose of this video is to have some of you Marvel guys check out DC by giving my 5 things DC got right in 2021. Now, I'm a realist, so I know that you likely won't check them all out, but I think that if you give a fair try to some of these, you may decide to take a look at DC now and then. As an aside, I'm not getting paid for this. All right? I think this just hopefully will open you up to some good comics, good videos, and make your comic book life just a little bit better. Now, these 5 are books, movies, or TV shows that I have seen. There are certainly some others that I haven't, and I invite you DC fans to suggest them for our Marvel friends down in the comments below. Also, there are some items that I didn't include in the 5 that I could have. For example, the Snyder cut of the Justice League, because I do think that most people have watched it. If you haven't, you should. If you like more lighthearted superhero movies in the Marvel style, Suicide Squad was very good. In comics, the Nightwing series was terrific, including almost any of the Batman titles, and some DC Black Label titles. Now that said, here are 5 things DC got right that you may want to check out if you haven't done so already. The first is a TV show, Stargirl Summer School. I have to admit that I first tuned into season 1 of Stargirl mostly because I'm a Jeff Johns fan, and I heard that the Justice Society would appear. Well, the JSA did appear, and effectively the origin of Stargirl, the new JSA, and the villains in a very enjoyable story made season 1 a big hit for me. Now, when season 2 came along, it was on the CW, the writing didn't miss a beat. The young characters, Courtney, Yolanda, Rick, and Beth, became people I cared about. And their coming of age as heroes, which was an underlying theme throughout the series, was done extremely well. The second season, which took place entirely during the summer after the first season was done, was better than the first in my view. The tease of the last episode of season 1, indicating Eclipso was going to be the bad guy, was realized. The New Justice Society had to overcome some significant personal issues to beat Eclipso's psychological attacks. One actor that you should keep your eye on is Milano Stein, the child actor who played Eclipso's young form. Boy, you believe him when he threatened the JSA. This little kid, he must have been about 3'5". He was really eerie and scary. Now, the series built up to a season finale that was very satisfying, and although the team appeared woefully inadequate to win the day, they did with some unexpected help. Now, the teasers for season 3 already has me wanting more of Stargirl. The next one on my list is a comic book, The Other History of the DC Universe. Now, when I first heard that this series was coming out, I took out and read my copies of the original History of the DC Universe. It was a great read, in and of itself. But the award-winning screenwriter John Ridley and artist Giuseppe Camuncoli provides us a take on the real world and the DC Universe through the eyes of some of DC's most known heroes of color. So it starts in the 1970s, goes through each decade to the 2000s, and it features Black Lightning, The Outsiders, Renee Montoya, and Thunder. Now, Ridley sets out his theories and questions on how these heroes might see the world, and in turn, how the world might see them. Now, this limited series, which was a DC Black Label series, is one of the best that I have ever read. Next on my list is a TV show, Superman and Lois. Now, when Brian Michael Bendis took over Superman, I gave it a chance. But as I saw the direction he was going in, I knew he didn't get the essence of what makes a good Superman story. The key to Superman is not that he's Superman, but that he really is Clark, married to Lois. He is more human than most of us. That's what makes Superman and Lois perhaps one of the best portrayals of Superman in recent memory. Now, the family moves back to Smallville for their twin boys. One develops powers, like his dad, but the other doesn't. Now, Clark no longer works for the Daily Planet, but works the farm as a kind of stay-at-home dad, I guess. He becomes an assistant football coach at the high school to be closer to his boys. Lois and Lana, who is in the story, have their own issues. Now, it's not all Father Knows Best or Brady Bunch. It's a bona fide superhero show with lots of Superman and a villain worthy of the Man of Steel, the Eradicator, along with a new take on John Henry Irons' Steel that adds to the Man of Steel's woes. Now, the show makes Superman relevant to today's families and times. The actors seem to have a genuine chemistry, which makes the entire family dynamic totally believable, and the many "oh no" moments and "what the" moments make a really great superhero show as well. Next is Batman: The Long Halloween. 2 movies. Now, some people, justifiably so, indicate that DC dropped the ball with many of its live-action movies. But one thing that consistently has been a fan favorite has been its animated adaptations of some of DC's significant storylines. It is divided into 2 separate movies, so there is sufficient time to properly develop the characters and the storyline. It faithfully adapts the comic book story, which itself is a great read, with some excellent additions and small changes that make the story even better in my view. Now, maybe it's my pendant towards smart writing that makes me think that had me include the prior picks and that made Batman: The Long Halloween make my list. The movies, like most DC animated films, are not kid stuff. Yes, they're essentially cartoons, I guess, but the story, especially the final scenes in Part 2, really cause you to think about the themes that are in the movie and how a hero can easily become a villain under the right set of circumstances. There is lots of action, but it's a psychological thriller at heart, with the holiday killer testing Batman and Commissioner Gordon's detective skills while committing murders on each holiday throughout the year. Now, even if you have never watched a DC live-action or animated film, you should see this one and read the graphic novel. Now, the final entry on my list is Joker-Harley Criminal Sanity. Now, generally, DC's line of Black Label comics have been a hit or miss, but one that I think every comic book reader should check out is Joker-Harley Criminal Sanity. Here we meet Harley Quinn, a forensic psychiatrist and profiler who works with Gotham police on some of their most gruesome cases. An unsolved case from years ago haunts Harley, bringing her ultimately to the jail cell of the Joker, and choices she has to make, many that are dangerous and may lead her down a path from which she may not be able to return. Now, the story is by best-selling author Cami Garcia, and she used real psychologists and profilers to give a true life depiction of the forensic psychiatry and to provide an extremely interesting and never-before depiction of the Joker and Harley's relationship. So there you have my suggestions of 5 out of many things DC got right in 2021. If you're not a DC fan, I believe checking out some or all of these may make you one. If you are a DC fan and haven't had the chance to enjoy any one of these on my list, treat yourself. Again, let me hear from you DC fans in the comments with any others you would add, or maybe even remove from my list. Thanks for watching, and if you missed my birthday video, click here to watch it, and the great Golden Age comic books in it. Be well, and I'll see you soon.